I left, went to Florida, came back, and the Sabres are in last place and everybody's injured. All right, let's dive in on what's going wrong with the Buffalo Sabres and the Locked On Sabres podcast.
Your Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody, and welcome into this Monday edition of the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now your number one sports podcast network. You could check out Locked On Sabres wherever you get your podcasts. You can watch the show on YouTube if you would like to become a part of our Locked On Sabres text club to get injury updates, stuff that's going on in practice, line combinations. You can check all that out over on our text club. Join subtext.com/LockedOnSabres is the place to sign up for that if you would like. And let's get right into it. Sneaky Joe DiBiase here on a Monday. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres presented by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Today, we're going to get into all the players that are currently missing, all the news. It's not really even injury news. It's illness news. It's Dahlin going back over to Europe, which I know is a couple of days old now. It's a couple of losses since we've done a show with you. And we've got a road trip coming up this week, and it's going to be tough as the Sabres currently sit in dead last in the Eastern Conference. Now, everything is still pretty packed together, but you suddenly look and you could frame this however you want, whether it is overtime losses. Are they overtime losses? Are they losses? Whatever. Sabres have lost 6 of their last 7 games, and that's a problem, clearly. So who's going to step up for this team? We'll try to give you an answer to that here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. We will go through the standings as well, because around Buffalo, there's a lot of surprise teams. The top 3 of the Atlantic Division are 3 teams that I would have never predicted. At least there's one I would have never predicted being up there. But we'll get into that a little bit later on today's show. I went to Miami for the Bills-Dolphins game. And by the way, that was not so fun either, because the Bills got destroyed by a division opponent they never get destroyed by. You could check out Locked On Bills, Joe Marino's coverage of that from Sunday night and into Monday. But while I was there, the Sabres played the Blues. The Sabres played the Hurricanes. It was funny. I was out on Saturday night. They played Carolina, and I wondered, any chance there's a lot of Buffalo fans here? I mean, the whole strip in Fort Lauderdale is Bills fans. Any shot one of these places has got the Sabre game on? No? Okay, fine. I'll watch it on my phone. That's fine. Nobody had the Sabre game on, except when I went to a casino on Thursday night against St. Louis, and they have their sports book there at the Hard Rock Casino. The game was on there, but obviously they were for other reasons. So, we watched a little bit of that game back. After the fact, I hate watching games back when they're going to lose, because they're just a lot tougher to watch, but went through them and wasn't particularly impressed with either game. It was kind of amazing to me. They clawed their way back against Carolina. By the way, that's a place they have still not won since the 2015-16 season. The Sabres have not won in Carolina since Jack Eichel was a rookie, and that streak continues beyond this past Saturday night with a 6-3 loss to Carolina. Again, though, I was a little bit surprised that they even pulled that game to within 4-3 with just a couple of minutes to go, and then Carolina gets the 2 empty netters. Tage scores, Tuck scores, Power scores. You had some of your best players that were available stepping up. They're like the only 3 best players that are available for the Buffalo Sabres, though, right now. So at the moment, it's a record of 5-6-4, 14 points, 4 points out of a playoff spot. Dead last in the Eastern Conference with 14 points. Only Columbus has the same, and we'll get into how the standings look in a little bit. But it's hard for me to be overly mad about the last 2 results. And that is maybe the most frustrating part of this season right now, is you want to feel like going in, if I told you on November 10th, so a month into the season, give or take, it's actually a month and 1 day into the season, that the Buffalo Sabres would be in dead last in the Eastern Conference, then I know what I would have thought back in October, and I know what you probably would have thought too. It's, okay, Kevyn Adams has to go. This needs to end. If it's not working within a month, fire the general manager. And at that point, even maybe I'm okay with a new GM, Jarmo Kekalainen, whoever, bringing in his own head coach. And maybe you move off of Lindy Ruff. The most frustrating part is you can't even really direct your anger in any particular direction. You could a little bit with certain individuals, but it's hard to when they're just losing everybody. And it's, it's these crazy stories. Of course, the Dahlin news of his fiance having her heart stop on vacation in France over the summer, and she has to have a heart transplant. So maybe his mind's not 100% on the game. I don't want to speak for him. He's back, though, in Europe, and he needed to take time away from the team. Understandable. Go get your personal life, in best order you can. Be with your fiance. That's understandable. No qualms about that. How could you? It'd be ridiculous to have any qualms about that. Family comes first. Jason Zucker has a severe viral illness that is keeping him out of the lineup and is going to continue to keep him out of the lineup. Like, what are you supposed to do about that? That's one of your best wingers. Honestly, he's like one of your important middle six wingers. He's your power play front man on your number one unit. He's just out of the lineup, right? Like, what are you supposed to do about that? Jiri Kulich, according to Lindy Ruff today, they're going to see how he does in the next 3 to 4 weeks. He is having blood clot issues, which is something you see in the NHL once in a while, all the travel. Remember Steven Stamkos, I think, had this a couple of years ago. Other guys have had it too. Basketball has had it. Chris Bosh had to retire in the NBA because of this. So it's now this blood clots with Kulich. It's your number one center with Josh Norris being out. And he's just away from the team right now. And that's, again, those three are on top of all the regular injuries that this team currently has. So now I'm looking at a skeleton squad. We're a month into the year, and the second line is basically the Amherst. Like, I cross my fingers that the young kids can come up and score for them, which is a place that they've done. That's a place they've been by choice in the past. And finally, they're trying not to be that team, and they are being forced back into it because of these. It's like the hockey gods are just saying, like, nope, you're not breaking the drought. You thought your team was pretty good. Oh, look, everyone's projecting you to be a playoff bubble team. Now we're going to take out half your lineup by the beginning of the year. So now, again, skeleton squad. Ryan McLeod's your number one center. I mean, we got to get to that and how the lineup currently looks going into this road trip. But it's tough. It's really going to be tough to overcome. So when they get outplayed by a Blues team that is at the bottom of the standings and they don't score a goal, I can't be too mad. I think when I see that they get pretty much dominated until the third period by a far superior Carolina team in a place they never win, even when they're healthy. I mean, what are you supposed to do? You can't really blame anybody. You just have to hope that they can pull through this as best they can, play 500 hockey, get some points until your guys come back, and then maybe you are still afloat enough to push back into the race by the time it would be great if Dahlin comes back at some point, but that's a tough one to predict. Kulich maybe within the next month. Zucker hopefully within a couple of weeks. Norris, I mean, that guy can play 10 games for you the rest of the year. Maybe that would feel like a win. I don't know what else to do about their team right now. Just got to go with you got to take the lumps as they're coming, and you got to hope this team can find a way to string wins together without a lot of their important players. So let's get into that when we return, is what the lineup is going to look like as the Sabres are going into a 3-game road trip against a couple of pretty darn good teams and a team that is at the top of the standings, had been at the top of the standings in the East, but they're falling a little bit in Detroit. 2 other tough teams out in the West with Utah and Colorado. We'll get to what it's going to look like going into that trip and how much we should really expect the Sabres to get. That's when we come back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of the Locked On Sabres podcast is presented by Indeed. You just realized that your business needed to hire somebody like yesterday. Well, how can you find amazing candidates fast, easy? Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed's all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs puts your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. If you've been in that spot where you need the right hire yesterday, pressure's on. Every day without the right person is a setback. That's exactly when Indeed sponsored jobs comes in handy. They make sure that your post is seen by the right candidates right now. Now, you can speed up your hiring process with the $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now. Support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. Welcome back. Sneaky Joe DiBiase back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are #1 podcast network, Locked On. Please do introduce that news to you. We are the #1 sports podcast network, and we continue to bring all your Buffalo Sabres coverage, even as the team is just getting picked off one by one by one. Wednesday at Utah, Thursday at Colorado, Saturday at Detroit. That is currently what we are staring at. And here is what the lines looked like at practice this morning. Again, you're missing Zucker. You're missing Kulich. You're missing Dahlin. You're missing Josh Norris. Who else am I missing here? You're missing Zach Benson. Excuse me. Zach Benson is the other one that is currently out. Lindy said there is a chance that he plays during this trip. We'll see. Remember Justin Danforth? Forgot about him, maybe? He's obviously out and has been out for a long term here. When you're looking at what the lines now look like, Ryan McLeod is their #1 center. And I like Ryan McLeod. It's not really a role that really he should be asked to play. I guess, like, again, it's like, what are you really supposed to do? It's really tough. I guess in a vacuum, I would, and the Sabres have done this, like in the last couple of games, they've been mixing stuff in and out. I would just put Tage Thompson at #1 center and leave him there. But they've been flirting with that and putting him back on the wing. Well, at the moment, he looks like he might be back on the wing. So Thompson on the wing, McLeod at center, Tuck on the right. I mean, really what you're trying to do there is you're trying to put your 3 most reliable veteran forwards all together and just cross your fingers. You have one line at least that's going to dominate the opponent while they're out there. And then the other 3 lines can just band together and pray that you don't get smoked while you're out there together. That is what these lines kind of read like to me, is McLeod, Tuck, Thompson. More often than not, that line should outplay the line they're playing. McLeod even not playing a little bit above his pay grade. He's a good player. And the fact that he is surrounded by Tage and Tuck, I think, makes it a little bit easier for him to go up into that role. The second line is what I said earlier, like, let me hope the Amherst can come up and fix this, because Noah Ostlund at #2 center, Isak Rosen, and Jack Quinn. And this is actually even with, I think, Ostlund and Rosen looking good. I've kind of liked both of them. They have not been perfect. They are definitely capable of being pushed around a little bit. Those two look small when they're out there, and not by height. It's just the frame of both of them. Ostlund makes sense because he's still so young. Rosen, though, has just always been that way, and he's a little bit older for a prospect, and he's still that way. So Quinn's had a nice season. I'm kind of hopeful that line can give them some offense, and a little bit here and there, that line has been capable of giving them some offense. I mean, Quinn has been a little bit of a surprise to me this year. I think he's looked very strong. Of course, hasn't been perfect. He had that turnover the other night on the power play where he completely gave it up and he couldn't get back, and it was a goal right in the back of your own net because of him. So it has not been perfect. You still get plays like that. Ostlund, Rosen, and Quinn. All right, give me a goal every other night from that line. That would be fantastic. Maybe 2 goals every 3 nights would be a great result. But it's tough because I don't really know what to expect from Ostlund. He's been the most impressive to me of those 3. I've really liked his game. He is such a smooth skater. He sees the ice really well. I think his first couple of games in the NHL last year, he did a good job of kind of, and Lindy's even talked about this, learning the defensive game and being responsible so that you can get minutes when you get called up here. And now that he's kind of employed that baseline of being good in his own end and being someone that Lindy can trust, now you start to bring in some more of the creativity, take some more chances offensively, use some more of your speed. And I think you're seeing a better and better player every game that he plays. So I would continue to give him decent minutes. Rosen, we'll see. I don't know. You got a couple of nice games so far this year. It's been better than I thought that it would be, but still not somebody that I'm really excited to see being in their top 6 at the moment. And then the bottom 6 is just like, give me all the physicality, all the defense, and let me be as hard to play against as possible with a Kozak, Doan, Greenway line, and then a Krebs, Dunn, Malenstein line. The third line, I mean, listen, I don't think Kozak could really be this, but I could be surprised about him. Doan, especially, and Greenway to a little bit of a lesser extent, is like, all right, maybe I can get a little bit of offense from that line, but that line's job is to be solid in their own end and be physical. And then Krebs, Malenstein, and Dunn, who's actually looked good as a fourth line. Like, I kind of go 1 through 4 in these lines. Like, I'm not really hating a lot of it. I've liked Ostlund. I've liked Quinn this year. I've liked Rosen even at times. I've liked Doan, obviously. How could you not like Doan? I've liked, honestly, Malenstein this year. I've liked Dunn this year. Some of these guys in the bottom 6 even. Like, I'm good with that. But once it's kind of all together, it's too many unknown commodities to rely upon. So while, sure, look at them all individually and go, I'm liking what I'm getting from this guy. I'm liking what I'm getting from this guy. They're still not players that you are reliably counting on night to night to night. The reason you feel like you're impressed with Beck Malenstein this year is because if he plays really well once every 5 games, that's achieving his expectation. So you feel good about that. The reason you might feel good about, like I might feel good about Noah Ostlund right now, is he's basically making his NHL debut still. So at his age, and as a prospect, you know, giving you anything over the first dozen games of his career is going to feel like he's achieving or even going beyond his expectation. That's why it feels good. But when it all kind of gets added together, it's not a strong lineup. Clearly, it's not a strong. I mean, how many of these guys would not be in the lineup if they were fully healthy? Because they were fully healthy. Benson's in the lineup. Zucker's in the lineup. Norris is in the lineup. Kulich's in the lineup. And at the beginning of the year, it was Danforth. So let's say it's 4 or 5. Who comes out? Dunn, Kozak, Rosen and Ostlund, and then maybe even one more. Malenstein, Krebs. Like, it's a lot of guys that aren't even playing that poorly that you would just automatically take out of the lineup if everybody got healthy. And then, by the way, really quickly in the blue line, no Dahlin. I mean, he's the most irreplaceable player they have. So we'll see. Can Owen Power do the job as best he can? I think he's about to be playing a lot of minutes for this team. He's going to be playing power play, all situations. This is a big test for him because while I don't know how confident a lot of fans are that he's going to be able to do this, I got my fingers crossed that he will. And it's funny because he really wasn't playing a ton of minutes. I mean, in the few games before Dahlin left for Europe, it was 22 minutes, 19 minutes, 19 minutes, 18 minutes for Owen Power. I mean, and he plays 22 minutes last, Saturday against Carolina. He's going to be asked to play 24, 25, 26 minutes, I think, on a nightly basis because he's got to fill the Dahlin role. He's got to be the guy who controls the pace, that is their best player on their back end, that is setting things up defensively, offensively even. Like, I think a lot of it's got to come from Power. So a lot on his plate going forward here. He's got to step up. Like, there's just no ifs, ands, and buts. He has to step up for them. When we come back, we'll take a quick look at the standings and some of these surprise teams that are jumping in front of the Sabres. It's basically everybody at this point, but we'll get to that when we come back here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres is presented by FanDuel. The NBA is back, NHL is back, NFL, baseball, of course, just ended, but college basketball, there's no better place to get on all the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So even if you miss the start of a game, or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine live bets into a same game parlay. You get a shot at a bigger payout that way. Keeps every game more exciting, especially when your team's making a late push of my Sabres bet of the night for tomorrow against Utah. And we're still doing really well on the season so far. Get ready for some emotional hedges, though. You can do it that way. If you aren't so confident your teams want to feel happy one way or another, you might want to bet on your favorite team to either lose or to maybe just not lose by 2. Is something you could do on the puck line. And then you're feeling good one way or another. Right now, FanDuel's giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up, play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. 3 games this week, all on the road, at Utah, 9 o'clock Wednesday, at Colorado, Thursday, 9 o'clock, and then at Detroit, Saturday at 7 before a 4-game homestand. Sabres have not been on the road much this year. They've been home for the majority of their games. That Carolina game on Saturday was only their 5th road game of the year. Believe it or not, we're more than a month into the season, and that was only their 5th road game. Utah's a strong team. Colorado's a strong team. Detroit, I do not think is a strong team, but they had a good start to the year. And then it's Edmonton at home next Monday. So a couple of things that we already know about that road trip, by the way, other than all those injuries we just went through. Colton Ellis is going to get a game. So definitely going to be Wednesday or Thursday. I mean, one of those back-to-back nights. I kind of feel like Luukkonen is going to be the guy that gets the nod in the other. It's probably 1, 2, 3, though. It probably goes, I mean, if Luukkonen gets the Utah game, and then Ellis gets the Colorado game, then Lyon gets the Detroit game. That would make sense, too, because Lyon playing against his former team in the Red Wings on Saturday. That would be my prediction as to what we see. I think we see 1 game by each of the 3 goaltenders, and it will be Ellis's, obviously, first start since October 22nd, his only start of the year, and I'm excited to get a look at him again. So what's happening around Buffalo right now? Like, you might be asking, like, all right, all these guys are out and they're trying to survive. They're getting games to overtime and they're getting a point that way, but they're not really winning. So, all right, they're in last, but they are only 4 points out of a playoff spot. And we've watched this team long enough. They've been further than 4 points out of a playoff spot this far into the year. So it's not dead yet, but you feel like they might be on the verge of getting to that point because so many guys are missing. Well, what's happening around them? The weird thing about the East right now is the teams that are stepping up are the teams that you might not expect are going to have staying power. I do not believe the Boston Bruins. I know they are the Boston Bruins, and every year, I mean, almost every year, I've come on this show, so I've been doing it in 2019, and said before the season, this is the year that Boston's demise happens. This is the year. But this season and at the end of last year, I mean, last year that was correct. We know that roster is not this good. They have won 6 games in a row. That is not going to hold. They are going to fall back. The roster is not good enough to maintain that. So the Bruins are a team that will drop, and they're at 20 points. They are 6 points ahead of you right now. They are in the 2nd spot in the Atlantic Division. The other 2 teams up in the top 3, Montreal's 8 points ahead of Buffalo with 22, and Ottawa is 5 points ahead at 19. Those 2, I think you should expect, are going to be finishing above you. They're good teams. They're young. They are taking steps from last year to this year. I'm not expecting Montreal and Ottawa to dip too much. Boston is the team that I would. Metro, Carolina, New Jersey, that's going to hold. Wild card teams. Tampa, they finally started figuring it out. We kind of figured they would after not starting well. Philly, that's almost Boston for me. The Flyers so far this year, and they have looked impressive. Mitch Goff, of course, has been a big key for them going into his 2nd year, and he's been good for them. When you're looking, or Zegras, the guy they brought in, he's leading them in points. I don't know why I read Mitch Goff. Mitch Goff's been a little bit more up and down. Zegras has been huge for them. Buy low trade, he's been a point game player. The goaltending combined with the thinness of the roster, Philly is almost Boston for me. I think it's more possible that the Flyers do have a year here, and they are a team that squeaks in, but they're a team I'd want to bet against right now. They're at 18 points. The Red Wings are at 18 points. They're a team I'd want to bet against. So you look at these teams that are in spots and you go, all right, I can catch Detroit. The Flyers are not that good. Boston's not that good. Maybe you disagree with me about Ottawa and Montreal. I think Ottawa and Montreal are legit good, but you might not. Carolina, nobody should disagree about. But the teams that are not in spots are the ones that maybe you should be fearful of. Florida. Now they have injuries, and Matthew Tkachuk comes back at some point, but they're right now only 1 point ahead of Buffalo. They're third last in the East. Washington, playoff team last year. Rangers, constant playoff team before last year. Toronto's a team that's made the playoffs every single year. Like, you have these perennial playoff teams that are the teams that are immediately above you. So who should I bet on grabbing those playoff spots when a Boston falls, when a Philly falls? Pittsburgh, too. It's probably not the Sabres. It's probably those teams. It's probably Florida. It's Washington. It's the Rangers. It's Toronto. So we'll see. If they were healthy, I would tell you, oh, yeah, they could be as good as any of those teams. But it's just so tough to be optimistic about the Sabres getting to the same places that all those teams are currently at when you're missing half your lineup. And especially when you're missing your best player. I mean, with Dahlin out and not knowing when he's going to come back, I just do not think they could survive an entire season without him. He's too important. He plays too many minutes. He plays too many situations. He's the captain. I cannot imagine if he missed 2 months. I can't imagine them making the playoffs without him. And there's obviously no telling of when he'll actually be back. So we'll see. Maybe they'll surprise everybody. Maybe Power would be the one that would surprise everybody on that. All right, it's going to do it for us today here on Locked On Sabres. We will get into Utah a little bit on our next show. We'll continue to track all the injuries that are ongoing here. Zucker, Kulich are probably the two that were Benson. Those are the three that we're waiting on to rejoin the lineup at some point here soon. That'll do it for us today here on Locked On Sabres. You want to check out more hockey talk, Locked On NHL Game Night, available wherever you listen to your podcast and on YouTube. Check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey as well, and we will talk to you tomorrow here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.